When you're ready.
Like we talked about at the beginning of this case, Mr. Tower's words still hold truth. It has a lot to do with everything that I've been through and everything that I've seen. And you've heard a lot of evidence in this case, and frankly, a lot of it was not disputed. The facts and circumstances of the tragic events of August the 31st of 2023 are not materially in dispute. Robbie Tower is deceased. Jennifer Tower is deceased. Those things occurred because of acts by Dima Tower. That is not in dispute. What is in dispute is whether or not Dima Tower had the rational, conscious intent to commit the homicides prior to them occurring. That is what is in dispute in this case, and that is what we have been asking you to focus on and not get sidetracked into different areas. The judge has instructed you that you have to presume Mr. Tower to be innocent before you start. We kind of dialed that back a little bit and said, look, before we even start this trial, I want to make sure that we're clear about what we're asking of you. And what we're asking of you is to make a decision about one simple thing. And it may not seem that simple, and it may seem very complicated to get inside the head of somebody else. And it is. It's complicated. The state has the burden of proving these crimes beyond and to the exclusion of every reasonable doubt. I know the state will say that most of what we've been talking about is trying to invoke sympathy for Mr. Tower. That is not the case. It is important, if you're making a decision about somebody's state of mind, that you are exposed to them so that you can make an informed decision. There's a lot of talk in the jury instructions about people of ordinary judgment making decisions. And what the judge has instructed you is that it's up to you to decide what evidence is reliable. You should use your common sense in deciding what is the best evidence and which evidence should be relied on in considering your verdict. We talked during jury selection about the fact that you don't leave your personal life experiences at the door. You bring those in because they form your common sense. And you can make the determination as to whether or not it's significant that Mr. Tower couldn't look me in the eye, couldn't look the state attorney in the eye, couldn't look the detectives in the eye at any point in time. That is something that is common for certain people. And when we're talking about individualized consciousness of guilt, every individual reflects differently. Every individual thinks differently. So if we're talking about the fixed time for reflective thought, it's important to consider all of the factors as to whether or not Mr. Tower had sufficient time for him to make reflective thought. Given his history, whether or not the killing was done after consciously deciding to do it. I would submit that Mr. Tower doesn't have the ability.
I'm going to object to this, and may we approach?
No, I'm going to sustain the objection. I'm going to sustain the objection.
Thank you.
I'll disregard the last statement by defense counsel.
The question of premeditation is a question of fact to be determined by you from the evidence. And the judge instructs you, again, use your common sense. Think about what evidence is reliable and what evidence isn't reliable. As Mr. Tower indicated, when there was discussions with law enforcement, he was concerned that there were misstatements, misunderstandings, which would be something you would understand from somebody who was in foster care in a foreign country, who didn't know the language before he got here, who learned the language himself by small talk, who was obviously awkward and uncomfortable. You can make a determination as far as all of those things, as to what weight you put on each piece of evidence and what weight you assign. Because like we talked about from the beginning, each of you individually has a verdict. And collectively, as a jury, you make a decision. But it is important for each and every one of you to have your voices heard. It's important that you take time to deliberate and make a determination as far as what culpability Mr. Tower has. I would suggest to you that the evidence presented leads to a manslaughter conviction. And we would ask that you come back with that verdict. Thank you.